Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hanging Out with Temi. And Hanging Out with Temi, my name is Temi Ajayi. And I've got my List Greatness with me here. And Heidi from overseas. Looks like Heidi is from overseas now. Welcome to the show. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And if you're returning, we appreciate you. Heidi, looks like you are in Bahrain or something.
I don't know. I thought I love colors actually, and I thought, I feel like green and pink today. And then you show up with green and pink, so this is unplanned, and this is just the spirit of the moment, as they say. And yeah. So it's beautiful. I love colors. Colors actually make a very great component of how we feel. So this is why it's important to choose beautiful colors in your house, and what are you wearing, because every color has an effect on your mood as well. So that's something that I also know. Yeah.
I agree 100%. I thought generally I'm not a pink person, and I know Heidi likes her green. And today I'm like, let me spice it up with green and pink, and there you go, you show up as well with it. It's bright, it's beautiful, it's subtle, it's gentle, it's just calming. I like it. And Miss Goodness is like here hostess. Can you see?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, talking about color, the one thing that I've noticed when I came over here is people here don't actually do color. In Australia, they are so black. And I just realized when I, transcended, because when I, looked into my wardrobe, everything almost that I was wearing, the current clothes,
yes,
all of them were almost black.
And gray.
Either black or navy blue, or on the gray side. And I'm like, how did I got into this, But we are very colorful people.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think people just want to tone things down.
Yeah.
They just think if you're too colorful, you are into people's faces. I don't even know what the brain behind this calm, gray and black thing. It's true. I start to wear black and gray too, but generally I'm never, ever, ever gray. Black. Like you have to bring the color, all the rainbow going, but then I think I'm trying to blend in so I'm not too harsh to people. People don't get scared, like, what are you doing? But yeah, it's good to have a bit of color. I love it to brighten the house. But thank you so much. If you're listening to us and you're joining us, as we say, today is going to be fantastic. And we've got one of the powerful men. This man, I spoke with him once, and this guy, just wait at least. You're in trouble today. You got no idea. You got no idea what we're into. And it just blew me away. Like, what? He will blow you away in the person of Dave Denville. Heidi, thank you so much for making that step.
You're welcome. Yes. So I've known Dave
too much.
Sorry?
I think it's too much.
Oh, Dave is amazing. I've known him for a while now, and I think the first time I got introduced to Dave, it was in one of the courses that I was doing, and Dave was just someone who was like, cracking up jokes and then making fun of everything. And he was just really funny. And when I was asking, what does Dave do? And, I thought this guy's Canadian or something, what does he do? I was in a coaching course. And, I found out that Dave is a money man. He is someone that actually makes big decisions, and he is someone that does performance coaching and business coaching. He is he's been doing so many years of financial planning and all that. So he is someone who is very, like, you can't even think that this person will end up being that funny all the time, and that having that humor and having that very light-hearted conversations. I think he's amazing.
He is brilliant. He's amazing. I like his down-to-earth spirit. And
yes.
not even tell that he's done all that he's done ever.
true.
But I
Yeah.
love risk taking as well. So today we're going to hear more about him, and when it comes on, we're going to talk about him. I've got a little bit about his profile that we're going to read when it comes. We're going to go on a quick break, and we will bring Dave back shortly after then. 1 second, we'll be back. Welcome back to Hanging Out with Temi, and on the show we've got Mr. Denver. Welcome, Dave, to the show. How are you doing?
Sensational. I'd say bordering on spectacular, but you don't have to panic. I will get better.
There you go.
I've got to start with a complaint right off the cuff, though. I didn't get the memo about the green and the pink.
That's
We didn't get it either. It just happened.
So I went for purple and black. I'm sorry, but there's a bit of green and pink in the photos behind me, so hopefully I'll blend in.
That would do. That would do us, Dave. And you are not alone. You've got Liz.
Yeah.
Here is Liz. You haven't met Liz before, Dave. Liz, greatness.
Excellent. Is Liz a troublemaker? Is Liz a troublemaker as well?
How do you know that?
No. I'm not a troublemaker. Am I?
Yeah, you are. I mean, compared to myself and Heidi, we will say you.
I'm always in trouble. It's just the depth that varies.
I know. But I'm gonna read a little bit of bio about you that I think people need to know, and then you tell us more that is not here. But I've got to read this. Dave has acquired a unique blend of knowledge, skills, and experts through his career that spans over 3 decades across the industry. It doesn't look anything like that. Industries of retail, mining, automobile, health, fitness, gaming, financial services. He has worked with some of the largest companies in the world, such as Crown Mitsubishi, Toyota, BHP, and managed the family-owned financial planning practice. Wow, for over 12 years. He has built 3 businesses to multi-million-dollar turnover by his early 40s and succumbed to the constant prolonged period of excessive stress of expressing the emotional, physical, mental exhaustion associated with total burnout. Wow. When you look at Dave's strong grounding and first-hand experiences in business and financial services, coupled with his upbeat and outgoing nature, yes, there's little wonder he has become a highly proficient business and performance coach, specializing in the 3 areas of business development, leadership, peak performance mindset, marketing, sales, and underlining theme for today, productivity and efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Miss Denver. This is great.
Wow. I think, Temi, I'm going to get you to do all my introductions from now on. That's great.
For nothing, I will do this.
Because look, after hearing that, I might hire me. That's fantastic.
Thank you, Dave. Is there anything, Dave? I know you live in Perth, and are you by yourself in Perth? No, you got a family business, so you can't be by yourself. So family.
Yeah, no, I'm married, 4 kids. They're 22, 21, 17, and 14. Wow. The oldest 2 are girls, youngest 2 boys. Very active, busy family. I'm married to Superwoman. That's the key, I think. Find somebody that has their shit together so that they can keep you in line. So that's the key. Yeah, marry Superwoman. That's how I see it.
That's a great decision.
Yeah. It was it a decision or a choice? No, I think initially it was a choice. It might have been a decision that came down at the end, but we'll see how we go.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a decision that came, but it was an issue. So remember we were talking about that choice and decision. Fantastic. Well, Dave, what is this excessive stress experiencing? Is it because you were doing all these things at the same time, or how did those exhaustion came about? Do you mind?
No, not at all. So I'd been in the financial services arena for about 15 years by that stage, 12 in our own practice. And look, after just, over a decade of looking after everybody else's needs and taking care of the stresses and the strains and whatever's screaming the loudest, I lost my way a bit in terms of looking after myself and my own health and so forth. And your needs change and the dynamics change with kids and whatnot. So a little bit of that health neglect from a mental, a physical, and an emotional sense. And then it just got to the point where I was burnt out. That was really the crux of it all. I'd been running on empty for, by that stage, a couple of years. I really didn't have much left in the tank, and just the highs and lows of business, riding those economic influences that happen, a young family at that stage, I'm going to say a chain of events that ultimately led to the point where I needed a break, and that was the process from there. And it was I literally thought at the time, look, give me a couple of weeks off, maybe a month, and I'll be good. And it was sort of nearly 12 months in total to go through that process of finding me again and rebuilding.
So does that mean you stopped everything at that time for that 12 months? You stopped?
Yeah. So I was very lucky that my wife and I ran the finance broking, financial planning practices, and as I stepped down, she literally stepped up and just managed everything from there. Like I was literally there on a Friday, and Monday I didn't come back into the office. It was cut and dry like that. And I have not gone back on tools, if you like, in the financial services profession. I've taken that knowledge and that industry experience and moved that into the world of business coaching and business development and peak performance coaching.
Fantastic. Well done, Dave. Thank God that you work with your wife. That's what I always say. When one is weak, the other one is lifted you up. And
definitely, yeah. It's the elastic band effect. You're constantly stretching, but it's it wasn't. So we're talking about decisions and choices today. It probably wasn't a conscious decision. I certainly had the choice available to me. Did I stay or did I go? But from a health perspective, like I was just mentally at rock bottom. I couldn't decide which pair of socks I was going to wear that day, let alone look after multi-million-dollar investment portfolios. It just wasn't fair to the client base to not be in a fit mental state to be able to be making very high-level decisions on what's going on, and I needed to be real and honest with myself and step away from that and hand that over to someone that was in a better headspace than I was.
That's what I call integrity of the highest order. Thank you so much for sharing that. We've got so much to ask you before we go to today, because your profile is mind-blowing. How to do that? One of the questions was, you can be high performance and your money can be coming in, but you might be not be in the right place, even spiritually, mentally, and all that. But what we do normally, Dave, is we always play our music for our guests to calm down now. And then we're gonna go deeper into today's topic. So enjoy our promo. We'll be back shortly. I've got my question, too many things. Let me read this again about Dave. If you are just joining us, we've got Dave Denver, who is a business coach and business and performance coach. That's okay. So performance in the business, I'm assuming. But I need to quickly let you know about this again. Dave was in the industry of retail, mining, automotive, health and fitness, gaming, and financial services. All that. Worked with Crown Meets Crown, beg your pardon, Crown, Mitsubishi, Toyota, and BHP. Also managing the family-owned financial broking and financial planning practice for over 12 years. Liz, what have you got to ask Dave?
Well, I think we need to get into, the choices and the decisions, because he has already alluded a little bit towards, some aspects of his life that has gone into that, so that we can get the ball rolling.
Let's get the ball rolling, because Heidi, thank you for actually picking Dave. I probably wouldn't have picked Dave because I'm too scared of Dave. Because truly, the very first time I spoke with Dave, I said to Dave, I really want to take my business coach to another level. And but I haven't done my website yet, and I haven't done this yet. And Dave is like, what? What are you talking about? You like, really? Okay, listen to this. I'm making these thousands and thousands of dollars monthly and yearly, hundreds of thousands, and I haven't got a website. How about that? So it's a choice you need to make. I'm like, oh my God, this guy just gave me straight in the head, like bang, bang. Like, wake up, Heidi.
Yes, yes.
Journey of choices with Dave, okay? And
Yes.
let's get our pen and paper ready.
Yeah, I believe that Dave is actually, what I really love about Dave is that he's very logic, yet he takes things to heart. So I see that, and I see that when we are in the course, and then we are like diving deep down into some like spiritual aspects, and Dave is like, he uses his brain like a lot all the time, and he's trying to make logic out of whatever it is that we have. Now that suits me personally, because I've got a brain of an engineer, and I do logic as well. So I love talking to Dave, because we certainly speak the same language, and I feel that having him supporting me in the journey, and us all working together, is going to get us to beautiful places, and we will be able to support each other at different levels. And so thank you, Dave. Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you for sharing your life and sharing your wisdom with us. I have a question. Why is it that with all that like amazing experience in the finances and running businesses, you're down to not down, you're actually embracing coaching, and coaching sometimes is like, involves a lot of transformation, like a soul-to-soul connection, like a heart-to-heart connection. I'm sure you knew about that before you joined coaching. I want to know, how did you decide that you wanted to choose coaching?
Wow. Good question. It was in the state of, I guess, in the middle of the sabbatical, if you like. I was trying to figure out what I want to do. In my mind, I wanted to go back into the business. That's all. I sort of thought I'd be having a couple of months off and going back into that. But I wasn't ready, and there was stuff about the industry, I guess, that I'd become a little jaded with, which perhaps added to the to the spiraling mental health at the time. So as much as I had those skills, there was a part of me that didn't want to be a financial planner anymore, or a finance broker. It was kind of, but that was my identity, if you like, and I didn't have separation of identity from the person that I am as terms of my occupation. In my mind, it was all one and the same. So the coaching was kind of almost something that came out of a bit of a stalemate. Like I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. And it was actually the conversation with my wife, Jenny. So in the planning practice, I had a lot of clients that were business owners, and a lot of our conversations would be about ways that they can improve their business and their efficiencies, or grow the culture of their staff. That could be sales processes, it could be marketing, it could just be management type things. And that was because I'd had 20 years of experiences of doing different things, or maybe more than that, 25 years of experience. And so that sort of sticks with you, and you can see if someone else was having a bit of a challenge, you can share your experiences to help them through the, over the hump, or over the hurdle of whatever it is they're going through. So it was actually Jen that kind of made it almost like a tongue-in-cheek comment. She said, well, you're good with businesses, why don't you look at business coaching? And I kind of went, oh, okay. And I understood it, but I didn't know what that looked like. Through the, what's a financial planner going to do in business? That was kind of where I was coming from. In a profession like the financial services industry, or accounting, or engineering, there's a lot of education that goes with that, and qualifications. So in my mind, I figured that, well, I need to start with some education processes here, not necessarily to have a plaque on the wall to say, hey, great, you qualified. It was more about to learn tried and tested models that worked, that I could then apply with my clients to help them, progress far more rapidly than what I might have been able to do on just my own. So that was kind of, I went into coaching that way, and the transformational stuff. Funny you should mention that. That was not even on my radar. I was really looking at the physical, the technical, the mechanical aspects of, 1 + 2 was going to get me 3. I had no idea of the I guess the transformational. But in the process of starting all that, that's when I started to look within, and I went, oh, wow, the last 10 years has really started to make sense where I was in that hole, because I hadn't been working on that stuff. So, man, the first 12, 18 months of that study period was really a journey of self-exploration to fix me. So, and then as I came out of that, I moved more and more into working with businesses of all different descriptions.
Amazing, amazing, beautiful.
Wow. Thank you so much for that honesty, because I was like, you are man. So this emotional thing, I was wondering how you not that the men are not emotional, but manly thing. But for you to come down and to connect, like Heidi said, soul to soul and heart to heart to people. So it's a journey. It's you stepping out and just try, first of all, to do the mechanic part of it, and now it's soften your own heart. You get better, and that invariably transfer to your client. And also, the financial services is transferable, and that's what you've done, because what you skill you got, you transfer it in this aspect. So fantastic. I've got a question though.
Mm-hmm.
How did you
be gentle?
I'm just wondering. With all this journey, retail, automobile, financial service, was it one thing at a time, or was it a time that you were doing 2, 3? You told us 2 when you were doing your financial services and when you were working as well. So was there any time you were doing like 3 or 4 of those things together?
Oh, yeah. So look, fresh out of school, I was a bit lost. I didn't my pathway all through school, literally right up to probably the term before exams, was I wanted to be a pilot in the Air Force. That was what I wanted to do as a kid growing up. My family's military background family, and that was my pathway, and I probably didn't give it much consideration other than that. And then in my final year, I kind of went, that's really not what I want to do. What do I want to do? And because I hadn't ever asked myself, what do I want to do? I was really lost with that. I kind of was doing what I thought was expected of me, not following my own heart, if you like. So I was good with numbers. So I worked part-time in retail and on tools in the electrical and plumbing industry as a trade assistant. And retail. So I went and studied engineering because I was good with numbers, and I was 2 years into that, and I went, this isn't what I want to do again. It was because I thought it was something that was expected of me. And by that stage, I was then working in the gaming industry, in the casino industry, so I could work night shift, study during the day. And at one stage there, and then I was I was trying to compete as an athlete at the time as well. I was still playing rugby league and triathlon. So I had so much going on in my life, and it was one of those, you know, the study was kind of really wasn't floating the boat. It wasn't where I wanted to go. So I chucked it in basically after. So if I'd done one more year, I would have been a qualified engineer, but, you know, the things that happened. But then I just, you know, through, I guess, a few turns of events, I met my wife, and then that opened the doors for, so my wife's got a sporting background as well, and she was offered a position over in Canberra at the Institute of Sport with the women's gymnastics program. And I came home from work one day, and so she was doing coaching here in Western Australia with the West Australian Institute of Sport. And I came home one day and from work, and she said, "Oh, I've got some good news and some bad news." I said, "Well, what's the good news?" She said, "I've been offered a new job." I said, "Well, what's bad after that?" She goes, "Well, the bad news is it's in Canberra at the Australian Institute of Sport." And I said, "Right, hey, let's go. When do you want you to start?" She said, "What, just like that?" And I said, "Well, yeah, you know." And probably unbeknownst to you guys, as I originally grew up in New South Wales, so I did my early schooling years in New South Wales. So Canberra was a bit of a second home to me. We had friends and relatives in Canberra, so I love the place. So yeah, we were literally just instantly in the blink of an eye, I made the decision, let's go. And 2 weeks later, we're on our way to Canberra. So that then exposed me to, you know, the whole world was tipped upside down. I had to reinvent myself again. What am I going to do? So I worked in the health club industry and retail, so doing personal training and then into retail. And it was retail that kind of led to an insight into the insurance and then the finance industry, and it just grew from there.
I love it.
Then to have it, we decided that when we'd start a family, we'd move back to Perth. So 22 years ago, we moved back to Perth. So.
I just love the free spirit that you've got, really. It's fantastic. Hey.
Thank you.
So,
Yes.
love it.
I just want to ask, you know, many times people arrive at that place where, you know, they've got that out experience, but they also trapped into, should I leave this and move on? Do I carry this forward? How do I move about? From the decisions that you took in your life, what advice can you give somebody who is sitting at that crossroad?
Oh, wow. So my natural default is one of controlling, need to know, like if I'm going to get in the car, where am I headed? I don't just want to get in the car and drive aimlessly. Where am I going? Where am I headed? What are the milestones I need to achieve? And away we go. So I've learned to be more free of that. Like, let's just enjoy the ride. It doesn't matter where we end up. Let's just enjoy the ride, to use that metaphor. But it's not natural for me. It's something I have to Heidi's going to crack up here. It's something I have to feel into, because I don't know, you know, that's the engineer, financial planner in me. Feelings, what are they? You know, it's just like,
I know.
I only deal with facts. I don't worry about feelings, but it's something that I have to almost stop and just go, hang on, do I really need to know what the end game is here, or can I just go along for the ride and enjoy the journey rather than ticking off, hey, I got to the destination. So that would be the advice that I'd give, is learn to just relax and just enjoy the moment that you're in and what's going on around you. And there's so much to learn and to experience in those moments. It's not necessarily the, hey, I can tick off the to-do list because I got to, you know, A, B, and C got done today.
That's true. So of course, you're into financial services and insurance, so you gotta know how to take risk anyway.
Yeah, but it's calculated. So you know, on your, you know, in a really basic form, you sort of have you know, you might be very low risk averse, so you don't like to do risk at all. You really have to have a high certainty of an outcome. Then there's the extreme where you just really don't care. You'll roll the dice and away you go. And I probably float a little bit from one to the other, but it's a calculated risk based on the experiences that I have in the circumstances that I'm dealing with. So.
Heidi.
So the computer's going and I'm making decisions, calculated decisions constantly, and they ultimately become a choice.
Yeah.
I have an understanding and a belief, okay, and I'd like to get like your input in it, and the ladies as well. So I believe that we make choices because of an emotional reason. No choice is really logic. At the end of the day, we make our decisions because we have an emotional underlying factor. So even the ones that we make in businesses, even the ones that we actually make, that we think they're logic decisions, they're actually because of an emotion. So we're always looking for an emotion. That's what I think, that's what I believe, and that's what I have seen, in my life so far. And every time I test it, every time I, have a look at a situation of a client or speak to a friend or even like test it with myself, we are always making decisions because of an emotion that is attached to that decision, that we are longing to feel, that we want to have. What do you think, Dave?
Well, so when you shared with me what the topic of today would be, I obviously did a little bit of thought to give some consideration to, is there a difference between choices and decisions? And I believe there is. I'm not sure if we're on the same page here or if we're saying the same thing in a different way. So I'll share with you what my thoughts are about it, and let's go from there. So I think it's really easy to group the word choice and decision into the same bucket and suggest that they're interchangeable terms. But I think there's some subtle differences between the two. I see choice as the ability to choose among different alternatives that aren't yet restricted by other considerations or restraints. So essentially, nothing's been predetermined. We have a free selection, whereas a decision is more about a selection and finalisation, if you like, of the possible alternatives where you've been narrowed down to a selection. So I'll give you an example to extrapolate this out. So let's say you need to employ a new staff member for a very specialised project. So on the surface level, you have choice. Pretty much you could go, there's this great big world out there, 6-point-something billion people. Let's choose one. It doesn't matter. They're all as good as each other. So that would be freedom of choice.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, we actually need to take into consideration the needs of the company and consider the impacts of the attitudes, the skills and the experiences that each applicant has. And so what we do from there is we then create a shortlist of suitable candidates. Now, that brings us to what I would call the decision process, where we have this predetermined or shortened list, if you like, of suitable candidates that have been filtered through, factors that are going to likely affect the end game. So I think that's the core distinction between where choice and decision goes. So choice is more, I think it's where it connects to your intentions, your values, and your beliefs, whereas decision is more about the behaviours that might actually take place, and identifying and the impacts that might actually have other external outcomes.
We're totally on the same page with that.
Do you let us see?
Cool.
What do you think? So Temi and Liz, yeah.
Go ahead, Heidi. What did you say?
Yeah. So how about you, Temi and Liz? What do you guys think? Is this how you view choices and decisions?
Exactly, because when we were making that topic, that decision, and Liz was like, "Oh, should we do this or do we do that?" And so we went deeper and actually explained what those means, to each other, and said, no, we can't use them interchangeably. It actually means, totally the same, totally different things, because the choices you make and the decision you arrived at, they're different. So it's you are making choices either between bad and good, but when you already make that decision, you choose one. At the end of the day, then you arrived at a decision and that you have to make. So we can't use them interchangeably, and you're very correct. That's exactly what we talked about. But to make the decision, for example, I want to paint this scenario because last week I was saying that somebody was bereaved. One of my friends was bereaved, and another person was in a not too good situation just before the show. And that affected me like immediately it just went straight into me somehow. Like I was a bit down. It was like shock to my system. And my daughter and Heidi jumped on me and said, you need to make the decision now. You need to have a choice now and all that. And do the things that you say or the things that you perceived affect you psychologically? How do you make the decision? If I haven't got Heidi and my daughter, I will get out of it. But at that time, it was a shock to my system. But some people, though, they might not be able to get out of it. I think that's what Liz was, alluding to as well. You might not be able to get yourself out of that situation. What are the things that you need to do, Dave, to remind us at any point T that this one too will pass, even though we say it a lot of times, but sometimes we can't make that decision instantaneously? What do you do if things are coming to you like bang? How do you get yourself out of it?
Oh, look, first of all, there's, everybody's exposed to different circumstances, different beliefs, different upbringings, different social customs and so forth. So we all handle trauma, grief, pressure in different ways. So what might be right for one person isn't necessarily the way that somebody else may handle it, because there could be some cultural sensitivities that get taken into consideration. I think that ultimately it's a mindset game. It's a thinking game. We can think our way through those processes. And I had someone say to me once that 100% of the experience that I'm having, the experience that I'm having is 100% of the time my thinking taking place in the moment. So and it took a long time for that to make sense to me, but ultimately what I understand it to mean now, and Heidi and I have had this conversation before, I now understand it, that it's that regardless of what the circumstances are going on, like if I'm in a car crash, for argument's sake, I may not have caused the car crash, right? So I didn't think, hey, I want to cause a car crash. A truck might have come through an intersection and take my car off. But it's my thinking in the moment and the choices that I make in terms of the meaning that I'm going to give to those circumstances or those events that I'm ultimately in control of. I can't change that another person might, drive through an intersection and take the front end of my car off, but I can decide how I'm going to, my own state of mind in that moment. Now, okay, there's going to be some emotional scenarios. I could have lost a leg in the accident and I'm going to be screaming and carrying on. And there could be some first aid requirements to take place to suppress bleeding and all those sorts of things. But ultimately, whether we can see it or not, ultimately that's my choice to decide how I'm going to handle it. So choice being the feeling, decision being the outcome. So, it's my choice to decide how I'm going to approach that and deal with it.
Wow, I love that. Say it again.
Yeah, no.
I would think that the choice is attached to the feeling, right? The decision is attached to the behaviour. So it's ultimately my choice how I'm going to handle the emotion, whatever's going on, and the decision is what have I got to do to go forward.
Awesome. This is amazing, Dave. Amazing. Love it. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to post it actually somewhere.
We're recording it so we can go back and review it again, because your emotion, I understand, it's always got that tag attached to it. So to detach that tag and arrive at the other end is what we need to say. But if you're watching us, as we said, coming for the first time, welcome. If you're returning, we say thank you. Get somebody else to come and watch on the show to stay with our experts. When we attend the meetings with Dave, I just feel like I have another teacher sitting next to me, as my coach. Even though Dave is in the same class with us, but I feel you are our teacher even in that class. So if you want to get wisdom, get somebody. We'll go on a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Hanging Out with Tammy. Dave, I've got a question. When you want to transit from your financial services and all that to a coach, how did you make that journey? Because sometimes I believe to make that choice is always hard because I've been known as you went to military school, you did engineering, 1 year to finish. As far as I'm concerned, that is an engineer, that's a smart guy there. So it's not a wasted thing, it's a lot of experience you got there. So I feel like you got this charisma with you, like somebody who is highly intellectual and everything. And I think a lot of times people go to coach, they think, look at coaching at emotional, soft. This, even though it's business, you still need to work with people's emotion and all that. How did you do that transition? And did you feel a little bit down when you were making that choice initially? Because I'm in that space now that I'm thinking to make that choice, and that is to dust myself off my retail, of my nursing. I've got series of stuff like you going on and go the coaching because I actually feel like I've got a lot of wisdom to give. I got something there that I can bless the world with, and I want to do it professionally. But to make that choice, I know, please don't tell me off, Dave. Please be nice. How did
I
you
love
make
it. So I guess I'll answer that with another metaphor, just like we were talking about, say, the motor vehicle accident. And I've used that in my teachings before, and I've had someone come up, oh yeah, but if you're in that circumstance, you might think different. So in terms of a personal journey, to be at rock bottom after your whole world is caught up in your identity of your occupation, and you are, from a health perspective, walking away from that, but still have your whole identity stuck in that, was a difficult decision. Like I was in some pretty dark days from a mental health perspective, and I'm not just saying I was feeling blue. Like I literally spent a couple of weeks in a clinic to deal with the depression, the anxiety, and the whole, just not making sense of things. I was literally just on a downward spiral and needed to, I didn't know what was wrong, but I knew that I didn't feel right. If that makes sense. Like I didn't have the language around it. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand why I felt just empty inside, and my range of expression wasn't massive either. It was sad, happy, somewhere in between. I probably didn't have much more than that. That was kind of where I was at. So I had to build out that emotional spectrum and start to fill in the gaps between, what's middle of the road and what's sad, and what are all the steps in between. Is there a little off color? Am I sick in the stomach? Am I just feeling like I'm having a bad day? Am I a little bit blue? Am I deeply depressed? So I had to build that scale. And the other side of that, from terms of I'm having a laugh and a joke with someone, to a really rich belly laugh where you're actually, you're losing control because it's infectious of the things that are around you, to love and gratitude and connection. So there was all those spectrums that needed to take place. Now, from a coaching perspective, that transition into there, I didn't realise at the time that I would have to do that personal journey, if you like, to build out that emotional spectrum. I just wanted to plug my engineering brain in and go, if I do this and I do that, I'm going to get this outcome. And if I do that 5 times, then I'm going to get 5 times the outcome. I wanted it to be very mechanical and very nice and fitted in the box, and everything was good. And then all of a sudden, when I start working with people, you realise that they've got emotions and they think for themselves, and they want to second guess and all that sort of stuff. And then you start to go, but hang on, 1 + 2 was going to get 3. Let's just do 1 + 2 and we'll get 3. And I don't care what number 3 feels like. Let's just do it. So that was the journey, I guess, and the self journey, to realise that, hang on, I need a little bit more compassion here.
Yeah.
And not necessarily for the client, for myself to understand my client. So it was both. But that was a learning curve I didn't see coming. There you go. So, yeah. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of what comes up when you ask me.
Thank you for that. But I've got a layer. Was it easier for you to get over those your personal journey, those disturbance and all that, because you have the support base, your wife, and also financial strength? Because a lot of people, if you don't have money and you don't have people around you, like I know, like ID, we say, get out of it. There's nothing like depression. You can get healed. It's happened to her. She's talking from experience. But I know people that are in this position of severe depression, but there's no money and there's nobody. How can they make that decision to get out of it? Is it easy? I mean, I'm a spiritual person. I pray, I do all that, but I know they have to be there to receive this healing. But if they haven't got any spiritual, any background either, but they're down financially, there's no support anywhere, and they're in bad depression, what advice do you have, Dave, that they can make the decision to get out or to get healed?
Yeah, so it's, I guess the answer in that is it starts with being very real with yourself. It's having that open, honest conversation with yourself to say, for me, that my journey started, 4 days in a clinic, or I think it was day 4 or day 5 in a clinic, and I just remember waking up one morning going, "How the heck did I get here? Like, just what dumb stuff did I do or not do to ultimately take me down this path?" And then it was just it was kind of like just a listing out of various different things. And what I saw was a trend of pointing the blame at everyone else and not taking ownership of things for myself. So when I grasped that, that's when, because if you don't take ownership of it, you can't fix it. If it's everybody else's fault, you can't fix it, because I can't control what Heidi will do, what Liz will do, what Demi will do. I can control what I will do, what I will commit to. So if I don't own it, I can't fix it. So so that's the first step. It's to actually own your situation, warts and all. And as much as you want to point the finger of blame and go, "Oh, it'd so be nice if I could just put 1% of the problem onto someone else," you've got to own it 100%. It's got to be 100% you, warts and all. It's like, go back to the analogy that I was using about if I drove my car through an intersection, a truck took it off. As much as it might have been the truck that ran the red light or the stop sign or whatever, I made the choice ultimately to be in my car driving on the road at that time. So I'm in control.
Wow. So come to realization. It sounds like the story of the prodigal son that's in my book, that want to take all the inheritance and say, "Daddy, I'm done. I want all my inheritance. Give it to me. I want to go have fun." And then he went and he was dying. He was having fun until he ran bankruptcy down, and he had to start eating the pig's food and sleeping with the pig. And he woke up to himself and he says, "I will go back home. And I will do, even if I'm counted as one of the slaves in my father's house, I'll go back home." So that resonated with me very well, the way you said it. Thank you so much. So if you're watching, get to yourself, get into yourself and don't deceive yourself. Know what you're feeling. Is this feeling a reality? Are you trying to transfer your issue onto somebody else because you can get healed? These are the people that are teaching us the healing people and blessing people, even in the financial industry. But they've been through the journey that you might say you are in. So we're not talking to people that have not been in the journey before. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us, Dave. Liz.
Yeah, there's something coming up for me. There's just these two sides about taking decisions. The one is, leap and grow your wings on your way down. The other side is grow your wings before you take the leap.
Mm-hmm.
And in the self-help, personal development space, we talk about successful people, take decisions there and then. But I just want to throw in a question. Is this a notion that cuts across to everybody, or would it differ from person to person?
I think the principle is true. Like it's a bit like it's gravity. It exists, whether you believe in it or not. You let something go at a height, it'll fall to the ground, and whether you believe in gravity or not, we know that happens. Right? So I think the principles of the process are the same. That it's like a chicken hatching from an egg. If you break the egg and help the chicken out, the chicken will, usually it doesn't survive, because it's the strength that it gains from that battle of getting out of the egg in the first place that strengthens its body in order to then be able to comfortably survive outside the egg. And we can have the same conversation about the transition of a butterfly or a moth, coming out of the cocoon. The same process. As much as you want to help it out there and let this beautiful thing blossom in nature, it's got to go through that battle so it can handle nature to then be the beautiful being that it is. So, and I think we're the same. We're all going to have challenges in our life. We're all going to have struggles and disappointments, and some of us will have them in succession, like rapid fire, just one after the other, and just becomes this unrelenting, like being stuck out in the surf with these unrelenting waves just pounding you one after the other.
Yeah.
And at some point, you've just got to take a breath and just hang on to get to the point where you maybe can get your feet on shore and just push a little bit further off to get out of the pounding of the waves and up the shore a little bit, so that you can actually have some space. I think the important part then becomes, Liz, is to actually take a moment to catch your breath and think, and actually go, what am I creating around me? Where am I in resistance to in my life that ultimately means I'm then creating these outcomes for myself? What am I resisting? What am I pushing back against? Where am I not in alignment with my true self, so that I'm creating this frustration around myself?
So good.
I know, but these things, that's a very good question, really, because these things we're talking about, this question that Liz asked, it's very universal. Everybody is asking this question. And if they don't listen to people like you speak, Dave, they're never going to get it. And I think it's good the way you're saying it, and you're saying it with all love. I can see the love, like, okay, I can do that. The way you're saying it, I'm feeling like, yes, I can do that. And I hope the people that are watching this show today can just step out of their dark places and say, I think I can do that. So they need to hear it, Dave. It's not something that people can just pick. And sometimes they listen to this and listen to that, and they get confused. But like you said, it's like gravity. Whether you like it or not, if you throw anything up, it's coming down. So these are very paramount. Thank you so very much. Heidi, yeah. I'm going to give you opportunity to ask any more questions you have.
Dave, I have a question. So my daughter was in year 12 last year, and now she's got a choice to make. She's going to uni next year. So she decided that she's going to uni. Now, thankfully, she has two choices. Okay, so she got two offers, actually. And she's got first round offer, second round offer. She's got another one that's coming up. So we might end up with 3 or 4 choices. Now, if you would, if she's your client, or if she's someone that you're teaching how to make a choice in that sense, what would you say?
So this might be a little bit controversial. The first thing I'd say is make the decision without the influence of your mother.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I'm saying that from someone that went through that process. I wanted to go in the Air Force. I wanted to do engineering, and so there was this constant series of things that I did because I felt it was expected of me, or I was nearly obligated to do so, and I didn't have the emotional maturity to do that. So the first thing I'd say, Heidi, is I would ask her, what does your heart say? what is when you sit in a quiet place and all the noise goes and all the distractions and all the people in your ear and you just sit with yourself, where are you drawn? What really excites you to want to do? And then do the visualization game. Can you see yourself doing that in 5 years from now? Can you see yourself doing that in 10 years from now? And I probably wouldn't look any further than 10 years because we're not in the industrial revolution anymore. We don't get jobs for 40 years to then retire. University students are basically being told now, expect to be made redundant 3 or 4 times in your life, and you'll probably have 5 or 6 career changes over your 50-year working career these days. We're not the reason retirement. I guess we used to get a pension is because your life expectancy in retirement was relatively short. When the retirement age you were going back into the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, you finished work at 65, you were dead by 70. Now the life expectancy is mid to late 80s for men and women in say particularly in Australia. Maybe with medical innovation we could stay older longer. So think of it this way as well. As we're all roughly the same age. So as we were leaving school, now for me that was in the 80s, how many jobs are now in existence that weren't even thought of back then, didn't exist back then?
Yeah.
So have a look at your daughter's situation now and go, well, in 30 years from now, so it's 32 years since I left school, 33 years since I left school. So in 30 years from now, what jobs are going to be around that aren't even considered or thought of in the current world? So it's about, I see it as about doing things that acquire skill sets that can ultimately open doors for new things where your heart takes you.
Wow.
They said a ball in a natural person's hand is different from the ball in Tiger Woods' hands. I say all this to Heidi, went in the garbage. Now Dave is saying it. I need to put a tag on my head for people to know that this girl is a coach, good coach. This familiarity is not good, Dave. I've given that insight, and I just like, yeah. I'm gonna listen to Dave.
Look, I've had many deep philosophical conversations. I've got quite a few friends that are teachers and so forth, and I have this conversation all the time that their world is is academia. So it's all about getting the qualifications and then having the skill set and the plaque on the wall that says, hey, I'm qualified to do X. But my life experiences have told me most of the experiences and the skills that I've developed actually haven't come out of the formal education, university and core stuff. It's the application in the real world where I've learnt those skills, and it's my attitude to learning and embracing new ways of doing things and open to other people's ideas is where innovation takes place.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna listen to this. Oh my God.
And Heidi, I'm not dismissing academia for women. I'm not saying it's not important, because I think it certainly gives you a grounding and a grounding of perhaps. And let's take, say, engineering for argument's sake. If you don't have the basic fundamentals of engineering and you've got to calculate weight tolerances on a bridge for argument's sake, and you make the steel's too thin or the joins not secure enough, it's not going to take the truck as it goes across the road. So we've got to have those fundamental principles in place to then go and do those technical aspects. What I'm saying though is the area of study doesn't necessarily mean that's what you have to do for the next 30, 40 years. It could just be, hey, that's a bit of a 5-year vision, and then let's rethink it after that.
That's true.
I like it. I love it. Yeah. I'll let her listen. Thank you.
So, and look, I've got 4 kids, so I've gone through these conversations many a time. So, and they're all different personalities, different skill sets, and different senses of humour. So it's all it's all great.
I'm being mindful of the time, but I want to quickly touch on productivity and efficiency. Is it true that all these multi-million-dollar business owners, they have a particular routine that you have to follow every day, 5 o'clock wake up, 4 o'clock, all those things? What is your routine like, and is this principle real? Like your daily...
So Firstly, I'd say don't be fooled, because even the higher level corporate execs, multi-billionaires of the world, they at some point they all experience moments of self-doubt, feelings of not good enough, or how the hell am I going to do that? The thing is they have the systems and the mechanisms in place to tap into, well, what have I got to do next to overcome that? But I think routines and habits are highly important. In particular, I think there's 4 areas that you can focus on if you want to develop habits. The first one is your wake up routine. What do you do first thing in the morning? And whether that just be you're out of bed, it's a cup of coffee, and you and you watch the news. If that's your thing, fantastic. Knock yourself out. Do it really, really well. But if you then want to move into ways where you can have far better productivity in your day, I actually think your morning routine starts the night before. It's about having things in place. So if your thing is to get up and go for a walk or go to the gym, you've got your clothes and stuff set up the night before. So you're not getting up in the morning going, now I've got to go and find my, where's my gym shorts, where's my sneakers, it's all there. You literally get the prep is done. Having definitely some quiet time, having 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour. I've got friends and clients that do yoga and meditation, and they find that on the days where they don't do that, their productivity levels are so much lower, because they're not having that time out for themselves first. If I played rugby league. I'm built like a rugby player. I'm not much of a yoga student, but definitely finding some quiet space is good for me, because it allows me to think about the highs and lows of the day. What are the things that I've got on? Where will I have space in between those commitments, where I can take care of the incidental things that actually come up? So morning routine, a start of work routine. So if you have a physical office that you go to, or even if it's a home office, it's what are the things that you do? Do you check emails? Do you respond to things? You're having strategies where you deal with distractions like emails and mobile phones. If you can actually put that into 2 or 3 times of the day where you devote time to that, rather than just the endless dribble that they come through on, it actually increases your productivity, because you're not torn away from the task all the time and having to spend all that energy to go, oh, where was I again? What was I doing? Reread the last 3 paragraphs that you read to try to get yourself back on track. So by having productivity sense there, your end of day routine for work. So your end of work routine, it's what's the wrap up that I've got to do. What are the things that I didn't get done? They become tomorrow's priorities. And then your own personal end of day routine as well. And whether that's, if you've got young kids, it's getting them sorted, fed, into bed, all their various sporting commitments. Your own wind down might be, reading a book. It could be doing your notes. You could do emails and follow-ups at the end of the day. Everybody's life's different, but that's one of the things that, when you work with a business coach or a productivity coach like myself, is it's really about designing something for your way of life that fits. There's not one way that everybody needs to follow. It's about customizing the principles that are involved in that and the reasons we do it that fits your life and your not just your habits in your life, but your stage of life as well. If you've got young kids, the demands on you are very different as if you're a single guy in your 30s. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. I like the simple way that you put it. It's fantastic. It's doable. So wake up in the morning and I like the compartmental way of managing your email or phone. I never thought about that. Put it like 2-3 times a day to check it, not as they come, who's that? Oh, who's that? Some of us used to be working with Department of Education, and they send messages every time and they expect you to respond immediately. And this gives you a bit of anxiety. You got to check. I never thought about put it 3 times, and I'm gonna apply that for sure.
So do you know why we do that, Tammy?
Yeah.
It's the dopamine hit that we get. So the moment we get a notification on our phone, it's like, oh, fantastic. It's the situation of the social media of where somebody, a teenager makes a post and all their friends like it. It's, they think I'm good, I'm cool. Now, our emails is the same thing. So there's this compulsion to feel that we constantly got to be plugged in. I'm an advocate of no phones in the bedroom. Like, it should just be left out on the kitchen bench. Yeah, I would say left out on the kitchen bench, because otherwise what happens, the first thing you do in the morning is you get up, you get your phone, you start checking your emails, your messages, and before you've actually taken time out for yourself, you're already off helping the world. Now, if you're not fixing yourself first, are you really in an optimal state to help everybody else? And I'm saying that from that first-hand experience of going through burnout, where I was doing all those things that ultimately led to the point where I just didn't have nothing left for me anymore.
Yeah, I love it. It's true. I love it. Now I'm very disciplined. No phone. You know, we wake up, first thing is take phone. I used to say, oh, I'm going to read my Bible, and then I see the message. I say this. No more. Get the hard copy Bible and read if you need to read. I'm getting disciplined. You know, even when the phone rings, the last time I did, you were there when my phone rings. I don't know the number. I'm not answering. I don't know you. You're not part of my family or my community. Sorry about that. Be my friend, and I'll add you on my playlist, so to say.
Yeah, look, a good rule of thumb is the first 60 minutes of your day, no electronic integration. So no electronics, no computer, no phone. And I get people, oh, but I use my phone as my alarm clock. Fantastic. Go down to Big W, $20, you can buy yourself an alarm clock. Stick that beside your bed and leave your phone in the kitchen.
I agree, 100%, because this is distraction. If your day is messed up, from the beginning, you can be sure what you're going to get at the end of the day. Hey, I've got some nuggets here. It's very easy and applicable. I'm applying a couple of the nuggets I get here, and I hope everyone else is getting something. If you join us at the end, the tail end of it, go back and watch it. And if they need to get you, Dave, how can anyone locate you, please?
Oh, well, funny thing is you were talking about websites, all right, at the start of the conversation. I do have a website now. I've succumbed to peer group pressure. No, DaveDenver.com. So just my name is all one word, then .com. It's a work in progress. I'm not overly stressed about it, but you'll find me on there. Otherwise, look for me on LinkedIn or Dave Denver Coaching on Facebook. You'll find me. And yeah, reach out if you've got a question or two. Be more than happy to help out in any way that I can.
I tell you what, you got to find Dave, because truly you'll be extremely rich. Wisdom will be impacted, and I think Dave will make sure, like, he's no nonsense person too. So you got to do something with your life. Your life will change, and I know that. I still have my one-on-one that I booked with Dave, but I want to get myself ready, prepared, and then if you kick me, I can bounce back. But thank you so much, Dave. No idea how much we appreciate you. Truly, we really, really do honor you, appreciate you, and honor the wisdom upon you as well.
My pleasure. Thanks very much for the invite, ladies. I most appreciate it.
Thank you.
So,
Heidi, the last word.
Yes, thank you so much, Dave, for tuning in and giving us your time and your expertise, your wisdom. Thank you so much for that. And I'd always say that our life is just a collection of different choices, and it's up to us to choose what we want and what will serve us for the next moment. So it's a collection of moments, and it's all about, what do I want to choose right now, this right moment that will take me to the next one, if there is a next one, because you never know. So, choose well, choose something that will serve, and make sure that your future self will thank you for the choices that you're making for yourself today.
I agree, 100%. Dave, have you got a last word you want to give us before we excuse you? And
Spaghetti.
Yeah, you said that one before too.
Enjoy the journey. Like life is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the journey. Understand where you're at the moment. It's just a culmination of the decisions that you've been making up to that point. You know, we are influenced by the people that we spend our time with, the media that we consume, the books that we read, all those, the conversations that we participate in, and understand that all those things around us, they have many, many blessings within them that we can tap into. But if they're not serving us, give us some consideration to go, should I keep putting myself in that conversation when it's not serving me? Should I keep watching the news first thing in the morning when it's all doom and gloom? Or can I just ignore that for a couple of weeks and see if my life changes any? Because I guarantee you those sorts of things, when you start surrounding yourself with high caliber, high quality people, conversations and influences, you'll have a different outlook.
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you. Please.
Well, I cannot agree more with Dave on that score. He
Mm.
definitely took my last words.
Yeah, because you said
yeah, definitely. I mean, we greatly influenced by what we read, by what we put in our minds, you know, what we see around us. So I can only encourage everybody really to be mindful of, you know, what we feed our mind with, because, you know, when we are put at a place where we need to make decisions, you know, your first instincts draw from what you know. If what you know is only horror movies, then, you know, that's the direction that you go. So let's feed ourselves with the right information. Let's surround ourselves with people that can definitely empower us to be able to make choices and decisions that will take us where we want to, or in the direction we see ourselves.
Thank you so much. On that note, we're just going to say we see you again this time next week. And if you're in the dark place, or you're in that place of making the decision, allow yourself to make mistake anyway, because it's only a journey. You're going to get up again. The spirit is to be able to get up and get going. Enjoy it. Everything that you call mistakes is an experience that is going to serve you. You're going to pull out and transfer it to better somebody's life in the future. So on the Hanging Out with Temi, we all want to say thank you so much. And Dave, we appreciate you. We're going to bring you back because we want to make million. Who don't want to make that $1 million? That productivity, we're going to deep down next time and ask you, teach us on how to make this money. We really want to make it, because otherwise we can't help anybody if we can't help ourselves.
That's right.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. On Hanging Out with Temi, we're just going to say tata for now. See you in a bit.
Goodbye.
Bye.